Okay, let's talk about a neat lens that Fuji should be making, but they never will. They're not the only ones guilty of this. They can make it in a 50 millimeter or a 58. This is the, I talked about this lens yesterday. This is the Zeiss Jenna Tesser. This is like a $50 lens. It's only 4 elements. It makes something magical. I know this is the most boring image in the world. It's just a proof of the bokeh on this lens. Soap bubble bokeh. Now, Fuji, and it's not just Fuji, it's Nikon, but I'm going to talk about this video, the specifics of this in general tonight, why photography has de-evolved, because photography is an art form, okay? Currently, it's being overrun, it is overrun by the measure baiters. You know what a measure baiter is? They're totally concerned about chromatic aberration and vignetting at the cost of everything else. Fuji is a giant pussy. Yeah, I said giant pussy. And so is Nikon. They are forgetting one thing really important, and I'm going to talk about this video in the next video because it requires a lengthy discussion. And I've got all the evidence in the world to back it up and why it's happening, is that they are slaves to all the measure baiting pussies out there. I said pussy. People totally concerned with corner-to-corner sharpness, totally concerned, at the cost of everything else. The cost of, it's like we could make, it's like if the winery were being run by alcoholics instead of like true connoisseurs of, you know, exquisite wine. And they don't give a crap if the stuff tastes like Drano, as long as it has a really high alcohol content. You know, this is why the dumb billhillies, yeah, that's what we call them. Some of us call them here in the South. We call them hillbillies. We call them billhillies. You know, you've hit the outskirts of this town too, by the way, because the road signs all have bullet holes in them. And you hear banjo music. Banjo music. As if the winery were run by, you know, these people are making moonshine, right? You know, and it's not about what it tastes like. They'll all admit, even these stupid billhillies, like, man, this stuff tastes like crap, but it's got a lot of alcohol in it. And you don't have to pay for it. You make it yourself, you know? It's about getting drunk. You know, if it's about getting drunk, then you don't really give a damn what it tastes like, do you? I don't drink at all, by the way. I don't like alcohol. I was drunk a few times in college. Now, the reason that Fuji is a giant pussy, and so is Nikon, and they should make this lens. It's a 4-element lens. I show this images, not just, this is a boring image, this is an image from hell. It's just a demonstration of the soap bubble bokeh. People are like, oh my god, you know, I keep seeing these old images from these old-ass lenses. And I want that, and I can't get that in any lens that I have now from Fuji or from Nikon. See, these are real art lenses, and I have to talk about this in another video. But Fuji should be making this lens. They can make it autofocus. But Fuji should actually stand up. Sometimes the company has to stand up because the customer is not always right. Now, there's a saying that I grew up with, the customer is always right. And I have always said, that is bullshit. The notion, the customer's an idiot. The customer is a damn idiot. Let me repeat that. The customer is a goddamn idiot. The customer is an effing idiot. They don't know, because people see this stuff, they only know what's out there. And then they wonder why the really smart people, like over on the rangefinder, and they're total snobs, by the way. I don't know of anybody worse, like a Leica licker, yeah, I said Leica licker, or a rangefinder snob. These people are hideous. They're horrible people. I mean, they're just the biggest puffed up a-holes that you'll ever run into. But they also have one thing that's really good. It's kind of like you can't stand snobby rich people, but they also have taste for finer things. You hate them, but you appreciate their taste on some things, you know. And these lenses aren't expensive. This is a $50 lens. However, current recreations of this lens will cost a fortune, which they're trying to do right now. People love the images from this. I mean, the images are impeccable. Fuji should make this lens. They would just best it, you know. It's not all about it. Photography has become overrun with measure baiting assholes and moonshiners. Moonshiners and measure baiters. It's like you don't care what the wine tastes like as long as it's got really high alcohol content. It's the same thing as a stupid ass redneck making moonshine. You know, they'll even say, I've seen the show where they make moonshine and you're like, God, this tastes awful, but woo, it's got so much alcohol in it. It's the same thing with these morons in chromatic aberration and vignetting. They have sacrificed everything to have, is it sharp? Is it sharp? Is it sharp? And chromatic aberration and vignetting. They've sacrificed everything just to have those three things. There's a lot of things that make up an awesome lens. And you know, if an awesome lens like this has vignetting, I'd say I don't give a S. I don't give a flying fook. Because no modern lens can make this. No, except for ones that are being recreated based on old lenses, like the new Meyer Optic Gerlitz lens, the 3-element Cook triplet. They're recreating that lens based off of a really old lens designed for a reason, because people are now just starting to wake up. Like, you know how people used to drink piss coffee all the time and eat piss chocolate? They get a Hershey's bar. It's like, oh, this is chocolate. No, that is chocolate, but that is crap chocolate. Crap. And they started to discover all these microbreweries, and there'll be a revolution in photography, but I gotta talk about this in the next video. There will be a revolution in photography. But Fuji should be making this lens. Even if they made it, what would be so wrong if Fuji made a manual focus lens? Hey Fuji, I got news for you. Guess what? Here's secret news. I'm knocking on the door to Fuji right now. Fuji, here's a hardcore fact that Fujifilm will love. Fuji, here's why you're wrong and here's why I'm right, and I've got hardcore empirical evidence to prove it. You listening, Fuji? This is why you're a pussy. I love Fuji to death. This Nikon's guilty of the same BS. Okay, I'm not singling out Fuji. But Fuji's the people most likely to listen, even though they won't listen to this. They won't. This is why you're a pussy, Fuji, because I've been recommending the Voigtlander 58mm lens. That is a manual focus slow lens, but that lens makes magical images. People are buying adapters for it like crazy to stick on their Fuji. They are loving it because that lens is the tits. It's the bomb. It's silk, sex, and sugar. That is a manual focus lens. In other words, people can buy any Fuji lens. They're buying this magic Voigtlander. Magic, which is based on an old design, by the way. Low element count lens. Magical color rendition. Oh my God, color saturation. Micro contrast. Oh my God, it works so well on the Fuji. So well! People are buying the piss out of that damn lens, Fujifilm. People are buying the piss out of it. On my recommendation, they're all coming back like, oh my God, I'm so glad I bought that lens off your recommendation. Ah! What does that tell you, Fuji? What does that tell you? What does that tell you? I don't think Fujifilm would ever make a manual focus lens, but they could. They're like, listen, you need to, look at, Fuji could say, look, we got focus peaking in this camera, which makes it perfect for manual focus lens focusing. Even if you're not very skilled with manual focus, any moron could look through the camera and see that focus peak and go, oh my God, I can see instantly what's in focus. Focus peaking on a mirrorless, amazing. Focus peaking on a normal DSLR, you gotta have skills like mine and know how the hell to use it. If you don't have skills, it'll frustrate you. You're like, I don't like this lens, I'm gonna return it. But on a mirrorless camera, focus peaking is awesome. And that, Fuji, is hardcore empirical evidence of what I'm saying. People are buying the piss out of that Voigtlander lens and they're sticking it with a $12 adapter, bonk, and then slapping it on their Fuji. Including some old pancake lenses from Nikon and some other freaky deaky lenses from Nikon. They don't care if it's manual focus, they want the best image. I have to talk about this in the next video about why photography has lost its soul, and it has. And it's the same reason that like chocolate and beer, and I don't drink alcohol at all, but people were like buying, for like 50 years, people were like, I want really consistent beer. It's the same thing with lenses, and they were buying Budweiser, and this is just a really good analogy. And then people started realizing, hey, this stuff is like, cookie cutter crap, and then like all these microbreweries spawned, because people want like awesome and interesting, in the tastes and the flavors. And it's the same thing of lenses. All these micro lens makers, and it takes a lot to make a lens. It takes a lot of money. It's not like brewing beer where you just need like I've never done this before. You only need like about 10 things. You order the ingredients and, you could make it yourself in your garage. Obviously, it requires millions and millions and millions of dollars to make a lens, because the lens element's like, whew, no. No, that crap ain't easy. No. So you can't spawn micro lens manufacturers like you can spawn micro breweries. Also, these micro chocolate makers, they're making like magical little chocolate blends that are percentages of cacao, and they're flavored a certain way, and they're made a certain way, and they're magical. It's not like eating an old shit Hershey's bar. It's like, what's chocolate? Hot chocolate's a Hershey's bar. You go, no, I'm talking about like fine Swiss chocolate. The really good stuff. Some of the best chocolate in the world are made from these little places that are like, they got 3 employees, and they make it really good. And it sure as hell ain't a Hershey's bar. That's the reason why Hershey's themselves now have gotten into the micro chocolate making business. Now Hershey's making all these little designer chocolates because they realize that's where the money is now. They just can't keep pumping out those X-Lax chocolate, those nasty ass Hershey bars. Blah! People that have had the good stuff, they realize the good stuff. I can't go back to that Hershey shit anymore. It's so damn good. And it's the same thing with lenses. People are like, oh my god, I've never seen bokeh like that before. Why can't I get that from Fuji? Why can't I get that from Nikon? Because these companies are pussies. They're pussies. They've bent to the measure baiters. They've totally bent. They've totally bent over to the measure baiters. Wham! Wham! They are the slaves of the measure baiting morons. And how sharp is it? How sharp is it? I don't care if the image is bad. How sharp is it? How sharp is it? How sharp is it? This is a fact. This is why Fuji won't make this lens. They can make this lens and sell a bazillion of them. Fuji be like, this is a manual focus lens, but F you, you've got focus peaking in the camera, look at what it produces. Ha 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 ha! And people would buy the hell out of it. Fuji should say, look, we got a lot of autofocus lenses, but this is about the photographic experience. This is a manual focus lens made by Fuji. It's got 4 elements in it. It makes soap bubble bokeh. It will make your heart melt because photography is an art form, bitches. Photography is an art form. A-R-T. You ever heard of that word, bitches? It's not about how sharp is it? How sharp is it? How sharp are the corners? How bad's the chromatic aberration? That lens is a little soft. If you bring it below f4, it's just a little bit soft. Who gives a damn? It is about the image, bitches. It's about I need a t-shirt that says that. It's about the image, bitches. Fuji's never going to make this lens, nor is Nikon. And people ask me, it's like, oh my god, how come none of these modern lenses put out images like that? That's beautiful! This is a boring image. I'm talking about the bokeh. There are a lot of beautiful, beautiful images made with this Carl Zeiss. This is the Jenna Tessar 50mm f2.8. It's a 4-element lens. It's a really, really old lens design. Fuji could make something like this. Even in autofocus, they can make this. But they won't make it. The reason they won't make it is because a 4-element design lens below f4 is soft in the corners. It's soft in general. It's got vignetting. So what? It's about the image. So damn what? This is an art form. Art. A-R-T, bitch. Art. This is not about photography being run, manipulated like little Nazis by measure baiters. So I'm going to buy that lens. Why aren't you going to buy it? It makes beautiful images. Because it's not super sharp like below f4 and because it's got a little bit of chromatic aberration in high contrast shooting situations. People like that, smack them hard. They need to be smacked. There will be a revolution in photography, and I'll talk about this in the next video. There will be a revolution in photography. And the people that know what I know, and like the snobs over on the rangefinder forums know, there will be a revolution in photography and lenses, because more of this crap, people are starting to wake up to this and this. And it's like, why don't they make this stuff anymore? It's beautiful! Well, because photography, Nikon, Canon, Fuji, they're all pussies. They're pussies, and they're slaves to the measure baiters. It's like if Fuji came out with this lens, people are like, oh, Fuji's such a failure. This lens is like soft below f4, and it's got chromatic aberration, and it's not really super, super sharp. People would excoriate Fuji. That's why Fuji ain't going to make this lens. The lens is beautiful. It puts out unique light, unique bokeh. It is super color rich. The bandwidth, the saturation is incredible, but they're not going to make it because they and every other lens manufacturer are pussies and they're slaves to the measure baiters. Photography is an art form, girlfriend. Wise up. Wake up. Okay? And tell the measure baiters to shut the F up. Bye.